years old, talking to a bunch of you, and yet feeling very young at heart. So essentially what I'm going to talk to you in the next 16, 17 minutes is precisely about finding your voice. You know, they say youth is wasted on the young, and sometimes rightly, because you have something so precious, something so amazing that you're living through without being mindful of it. By all means, enjoy your youth, but also at this time in your life, find building blocks that will help you later. I don't think I was doing it mindfully, but when I look back at my life, and I look back when I was your age, sitting in this hall, looking at the people speaking or performing from this stage, I don't think I was mindful of it, but somewhere, you know, the human mind is like a magpie's mind. It stores things. So I encourage you to have a magpie mind, to just anything that catches your fancy, store it. You don't know when you might use it. So I'll talk about when I stood on the stage and performed as a very reluctant, very shy performer. Once memorably, in a spoof on Romeo and Juliet, I played the part of Romeo. I wore shorts that were many sizes too big, tied with ropes because they looked like bloomers. I took a curtain from the hostel room, used it like a cape, and the audience hooted and went wild because my shorts were like all over the place. But I think from that point to now, when I look back at my journey, and there were other instances when I performed from the stage, recited poetry or something or the other, I was shy, I was reluctant. I'm going to ask you today to look out for your voice, yeah? To find your voice, it could be as a writer, if you want to be a writer, it could be as a performer, that's what you want to do, if you want to work in media. It could be when you're doing ostensibly nothing. Let's say there's some people here who want to be homemakers, fine. But have a voice, have opinions. And how will those opinions be formed? Informed opinions, how will they be formed? I think they can only be formed with knowledge. Knowledge that is distinct from information. Information can be about metro timings or anything. But that is not going to stand the test of time. That is very time bound. So learn to understand the difference between information and knowledge. Knowledge will come to you from conversations, from reading, from having a curious mind. Curiosity, I think, is one of the most important things. Ask yourself, do you read? Yeah? Do you read? How much time? And I don't mean WhatsApp forwards, please, because those actually contain such bogus information. How much time do you spend going through books, browsing bookshelves, walking into a bookshelf, spending some part of your monthly allowance on books? These are just questions that maybe at some point ask yourself, because no knowledge as distinct from information goes waste. Knowledge will stand the test of time. And like a magpie who stores that in its brain, you don't know when you can pluck it out, when you can use it. So that's the one thing I would urge you to look out for. Read, read, read. The other thing is, it's a good idea to have a solid undergrad degree in a core discipline. But you know, the word of core disciplines has gone away. By all means, do your BA in political science, your BA in English honors, or whatever. But when you are thinking of higher education, that is, if you are thinking of higher education, I would strongly urge you to look beyond the silos of disciplines, you know. I did a BA in English from Miranda House, again a master's in English, again from Miranda House, though our classes used to be in the arts faculty. And then 20 years later, I did a PhD, which was hugely interdisciplinary. I think I can tell from my own personal experience that two things. One, don't be in such a hurry to do finish all your education, cut, back to back. Don't diss formal education. There's a lot to be said for classroom teaching. But at the same time, don't be in a hurry to do all your education back to back because you want to get on with the business of living. No. These are societal pressures that we have, that we must do BA and then MA, if we want to go into teaching, MPhil, PhD, whatever, and then get married, have kids. And you can jumble up the order. And that's all right, I mean, I'm not really standing on the stage and saying have children and then get married. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying jumble up the sequence of events. There's no harm, there's no bar to when you need to finish all your education. I did a PhD in my 40s, and I think I'm richer for it. Because those 20 years gap between my master's and my PhD, I think it was a fallow period, like a farmer who lets the fields sit fallow so they gain strength, so that the seed that you throw in those fields is healthy seeds, and the crop that comes is a healthy crop. So a bit like that. I think if you let your mind be fallow for a little while, and then use it for something. Could be starting a business, being an entrepreneur, changing your career, going back to school and finishing your education, anything. So I'm standing here to talk of a few things which are largely in keeping with the theme for this TED Talk, Ramaya. One is finding your voice, finding who you are. It can take time. There's no bar that says by 23 you must be sorted. No, there is no bar. Be sorted when you want to be sorted. So take your time. My own personal experience, when I did the PhD in my 40s, in those 20 odd years, I had been doing a bunch of things. Right after my master's, I went across the road to Khalsa College to teach. So I taught English, I worked in publishing companies, I did various things. But I was also translating. We all have a mother tongue in India. We all have a second language apart from English, of course. So it could be Urdu, Bangla, whatever. In my case, it was Urdu and Hindi. So I began translating, and I found my voice. Before I found my voice as a writer, I found my voice as a translator. I'm going to urge you, if you have a second language that you are reasonably proficient in, try, just as an experiment, just try and take a page of poetry, prose in your mother tongue. It could be Khasi, it could be Assamia, Bangla, Kannada, whatever. And just see if you enjoy translation. Because believe me, it's great fun. And in my case, it was a stepping stone to a career in writing. Over the years, from translation, I went to writing my own stuff. Working as a literary historian, you might ask, what is a literary historian? Again, I think it fits in with this whole theme of Ramaya. A literary historian looks at two big streams. One is literature, one is history. And then there's an intersection, where these two streams come and meet. So people like us, we look at that intersection. We look at that common space where literature and history come and meet. It could be Jallianwala Bagh, it could be the Great Bengal Famine, it could be partition, it could be the First World War, and then we go looking for how does literature represent history, any part of history, big historical event, a localized historical event, whatever. It joins the dots. That's what a literary historian does. And that is what I have been doing. To end, all those dupes, all that reading, all that random reading, all that browsing through the bookshelves of this library, and then later the seminar library, arts faculty, and then later my mother retired as a school librarian, so we always had books and magazines around the house. I think none of that went to waste. While I've written all those 51 books, but I must tell you, I'm proudest of my unborn child. I've written my first novel at the age of 16. I'm waiting to have it published. It's a manuscript. It's just sitting with me. I'm going to find a good publisher for it. It's not yet out in the world, but it is something that gives me both happiness and joy. Why? Not because it's my 52nd child, but because, and this is an odd thing to say, it's a new genre. I've never written a novel. I don't know anything about a novel, how to write it, because all my work has been non-fiction, non-creative writing, literary histories and all that. But to find the courage to write fiction, when there's so much good fiction in the world, I mean, there are writers I truly admire, and here I am, with no skills as a novelist, at the grand old age of 62, writing a novel. So, I think what I want to end with really is, there is no age for anything. There is no bar for anything. Find your voice, learn to be true to it, learn to be curious, learn to try new things as you go on in life. And best of all, remember, there is no bar to learning new things, new tricks, new ways of doing, new ways of seeing. Bye-bye. Thank you.